Hey everybody, Steve here, and today I'm not in Palm Springs. I'm actually here in Santa Barbara, California, sitting at the gates here of the Santa Barbara Cemetery. I just drove up from Palm Springs. I left about 5 a.m. and it's about quarter till right now. It's about quarter to 8. So it took me almost 3 hours to get here. Actually, I think I left around quarter to 5. So it took me almost exactly 3 hours to get here. I didn't stop for gas or anything. I only have a quarter of a tank left, so I will need to fill up before going home. But I'm up here today to visit my cousin Joni and her family. It's been ages since I've been up here to visit them. Probably, 5 years ago, I think, was the last time I visited, and we actually met here at the cemetery. We visited my aunt, Emily, and my cousin Donna. They're buried together here at Santa Barbara Cemetery. And then we all went out to lunch. I shared that video, I think, on my other channel, on the Graveyard channel. So another visit was long overdue. I sure lucked out in getting some great weather. I mean, usually in the morning by the beach, almost any beach here in California, they're usually very foggy, even in the summer when it's really nice during the day. In the mornings, they're usually fogged in. But this morning, as you can see, the skies are just beautiful. No clouds, not a cloud really in sight. So I definitely lucked out today. Now, I'm actually meeting Joni at 11 o'clock. And so I've got a few hours here to do a little sightseeing. I wanted to stop by the cemetery again to visit my aunt and cousin here at the cemetery, but also to visit the gravesite of actor Tab Hunter. Now, I can't remember, I guess it was the video with my cousin. Jim and I came up here to visit Tab Hunter's gravesite. It was about a week after he died, or a week after he was buried. And there were flowers on the gravesite. Some of you may have seen that video, you may remember. And we assumed that he was being buried next to his mother. So his mother's buried here, and she had a Find a Grave Memorial page, and she had a headstone with her name on it, and the new grave next to hers with the big mound of flowers, even though it didn't say it was Tab Hunter's, we all assumed that it was his gravesite. And I think it was about a few months later when his headstone was placed with his name on it, confirming that that was his gravesite. But I haven't been back since, so I thought it would be nice, since I was coming up here anyway and I had a few extra hours before we're getting together, I thought it would be nice to come and see his gravesite now that it does have a headstone. And he's buried just, a few yards from my Aunt Emily's gravesite. So they're very close together. And the funny thing is, I think my cousin shared the story on that other video about how Emily, her mom, Emily, met Tab Hunter on a plane flight. I can't remember where they were flying to or from, and I think maybe they were flying back to Santa Barbara from somewhere, and they were seated next to each other and just talked and got to know each other the entire flight. And I'm sure that was a very memorable trip for my aunt. I think they were around the same age, and she probably had a crush on him like pretty much every other person did back in the 50s and 60s when he was a huge movie star. He got his start when he was still a teenager, and he was one of the original teen Hollywood heartthrobs back in the 1950s. And he didn't come out of the closet as gay until I think it was 2005 when he published his tell-all memoir, which I believe was titled Tab Hunter Confidential. And then in 2015, and it was turned into a documentary with the same name. In the early days, back in the 50s, he appeared in, I think the film I remember him most for was the 1958 Damn Yankees. He appeared in quite a few war movies back then, which is kind of funny. But later in his career, back in the 80s, he appeared in Polyester, Grease 2, Lust in the Dust, all kind of campy comedies, really. And he also appeared in a lot of TV shows. Popular shows like The Love Boat, Charlie's Angels, McMillan and Wife, Hawaii Five-0, Policewoman. Remember all those fun shows? Yeah, they're all pretty much classics now. And back in 1960, I think for just one season from 60 to 61, he even had his own TV show called The Tab Hunter Show. With his all-American boy-next-door look, it's easy to see why he was such a teenage heartthrob back in the 50s and 60s. How many of you had a crush on him? I bet quite a few of you did. I sure did. And who would have ever guessed that he was gay back in the 1950s and 60s if we had only known I think it would have helped a lot of us who were also gay and closeted. It would have made it a lot easier to come out knowing that people like Tab Hunter and Anthony Perkins, Rock Hudson, that they were all gay and in the closet. I think a lot of young gay people today have no idea just how lucky they really are to have so many role models and to be able to be so open and out about who they really are. It was so different back in the 50s and 60s. Even though, you look back on it as the good old days, and in a lot of ways, especially when it came to being gay, it definitely was anything but the good old days. I remember when Jim and I were here, I was really disappointed because you couldn't even see the beach from his gravesite or anything. It was just gray and foggy and ugly. It was a really ugly day. And so it's really nice to see how beautiful it is today and what a beautiful view he has and how close he is to the ocean. It's just a gorgeous spot. What a great place to spend eternity, right? And so many other famous people are laid to rest here. I guess like Palm Springs, a lot of Hollywood celebrities had second homes or retired here to Santa Barbara, just like they did in Palm Springs. So quite a few famous people or Hollywood people are buried in Palm Springs, and probably just as many, maybe even more, are buried up here in Santa Barbara, in this Santa Barbara cemetery. Both places are beautiful places to spend eternity, but I have to say, between the two, this one overlooking the beach, I think has Palm Springs beat, although Palm Springs is pretty nice. I don't know, overlooking the ocean as your final resting place is pretty spectacular. And there's also another famous gay gravesite, actually a cremation niche, in one of the mausoleums here. And so I'll see if I can remember which one. I think they both have GPSs. I don't know if he pronounced his name Stephen or Stephan. I'm thinking probably Stephan because it's got an A, although sometimes Stephan is spelled with an F, so I'm not sure. Maybe some of you will know how he pronounced his name. I'm going to go with Stephan. So Stephan Burns died February 22nd, 1990, at the young age of 35 from complications of AIDS. His gravesite does have a GPS, so it's easy to find. And I'm glad it did have a GPS because even though it's just maybe 7 or 8 graves away from my aunt's, I was looking all over the place. I didn't really remember it being in that direction. I thought it was on the other side of my aunt's gravesite. So 6 years later, your memory kind of plays tricks on you. His gravesite is in the island section, same as my aunt's. And I would say of all the sections, I think it's the nicest section with the huge pyramid private mausoleum. In case you don't remember Stephan, he played Jack Cleary in the 1983 TV miniseries, The Thornbirds. Remember The Thornbirds? That was so popular back in 1983. And it also starred actor Richard Chamberlain, who I don't know if he was out, if he'd come out of the closet in the 80s. I can't remember when he came out of the closet. Another one of my favorite actors, I remember him from Dr. Kildare back in the 1960s, I think it was. And in addition to the Thornbirds, Burns also appeared in popular TV shows of the time, such as 8 is Enough, Heart of the City, Simon and Simon, and other TV shows like that. So sad to have his life cut so short at the age of 35, like so many others in Hollywood and so many others in the gay community who died from AIDS back in the 1980s and the 1990s. Before they found, there's no cure, but before they were able to come up with medications to treat the disease. So now there are thousands, maybe millions of people who are HIV positive, but because of medications, many of them can live a full life. And that just wasn't the case back in the 1980s when HIV and AIDS first became a national and then an international plague. That took more than a decade, I believe, before there was any real treatment that allowed those infected to continue living a long and full life. And I had quite a few friends who died from AIDS back in the 1980s and 90s, and it makes it even sadder knowing that just a few years later, if timing had been just a little bit different, they might have been able to get the treatment they needed, and they might still be alive today. So that makes it even sadder. Now, on one of my past trips here, I've been here a few times to this cemetery, and on one of my past trips, I think I was with Jim this time. It must have been the time we came up to visit my cousin, because I think that's the only time he came up here with me. And we visited Christopher Bernau's final resting place, which is a cremation niche in one of the mausoleums by the front gate. So I'm going to see if I can find it again and show it to you. Again, I shared it on the other channel, but not on this channel. He died from a heart attack and complications from AIDS at the age of 49. So he lived a little bit longer than Stephan Burns. Bernau died on June 14th, 1989 in Manhattan. So he actually died the year before, but he was older than Bernau. And I'm sure many of you will remember him from the classic TV show Dark Shadows, which first aired, I believe, in 1969. He played Philip Todd. And then he went on to play Alan Spaulding on the soap opera Guiding Light from 1977 to 1988. And from what I've read, he was the very first openly gay soap opera actor. So that was a time when gay people were finally starting to come out of the closet. And I don't know if he came out because of his disease or if he had come out before that, but I'm sure he has many fans from The Guiding Light and from Dark Shadows especially. So I'm going to have to hit the road soon and head up to Lompoc to meet up with my cousin. My cousin now lives in Lompoc, which is about an hour north of Santa Barbara. So I still have an hour drive. I've got plenty of time, but I need to get gas and I want to do a little bit more sightseeing.
Celebrate life. It's a great feeling knowing that what we grow here at A&M Flowers will make anyone's day anywhere in the country.
What counts to A&M flower growers counts to us.
Working with community with things like the market transportation and education, our company, and they're there for what they
Community is king. Thank you for what counts. Let's work together.
Looks fairly new, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's the older part because you see the headstones are high.
I think the ones with the high headstones, the 5 in a row, that's probably the guy with the 5 wives.
Oh,
There's
really?
6 in a row, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this looks like it's probably still people are being buried today. I mean, this looks very new, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hardly any there.
Yeah. But there's a lot of deer up here. Eating everyone's flowers. A nice view too. Do you guys go to cemeteries once in a while? Just to see the history and stuff?
Well, we went to Louisiana, we did New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever been over there?
Yeah. I went to the big one downtown.
Yeah.
Did you go to that one with the what was the Voodoo Queen or something? New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Like that Orson Peck, I think he was like early, I think 1904 or something. Or the Gophers.
There's tons of gophers over there.
There's a couple cemeteries up in LA that are like that. I mean, there's one that's just all gopher holes.
Yeah.
I mean, you could break your
Ankle.
ankle, yeah. It's kind of neat, though. Would you guys live in a house that backed up to a cemetery?
I wouldn't care.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't care.
I would either.
feel like,
I would actually, for me, that'd be a plus, but. And you'd have quiet neighbors, you know, as they always say.
yeah.
Is that it? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, there's supposed to be 6, and they're
There's
white.
6 in there.
They're
but
white and they're tall. I thought they were white and tall.
Okay.
And the GPS made it sound like they would be on the left side, but I don't see them. All right, let me go back and find the GPS.
Oh, okay.
Well, we drove around and around and around this cemetery looking for these. The picture on the Find a Grave Memorial page was from long ago, I guess, and it showed these standing up. But I guess they're so old that they fell down, and they decided to just put them in a cement block like this. So I finally, because it did have a GPS, and I thought, well, there's no headstones here. They're looking over there. So this is Orson Peck and his 5 wives. Yeah, I found it. Okay. Yeah. When I first read about him, I thought maybe he was like, what do they call it, polygamist? I thought maybe he had all these wives at the same time. But it looks like he just married them all at different times. And his memorial page says that he even proposed to his housekeeper when he was 88 years old. He wanted to marry a 6th time, but she said no. I guess she didn't want to be his 6th wife. Even though the round trip drive was a really long one for a single day, it was really worth it. The weather couldn't have been more picture perfect. The food was great, and it's always fun spending time with my cousin and her family. And I thought about spending the night in a hotel, but driving back to Palm Springs on Monday during the horrendous work week Los Angeles area traffic would have taken 2 to 3 times as long, and would have been a lot worse than the Sunday afternoon traffic with everyone going home from the beach. It turns out that I wasn't the only one who decided to take advantage of this perfect day in May. All in all, it did turn out to be a perfect day. This week I want to thank my latest channel supporter, Janice Wright. Thank you, Janice, for your very kind and generous donation to the channel. It means a lot and it's very appreciated. And thank you too to all of you who have taken the time to subscribe to this channel. It's fun to know that I'm not the only one who likes watching my videos. As always, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll hope to see you again next time.